This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
An appeal has begun against the sentence handed down to a 20-year-old man convicted of bashing 6 penguins to death with a stick in 2016. His sentence of 49 hours community service and an $89 fine outraged community members and wildlife protection groups. Our reporter Jessica Moran has more.
Joshua Jeffrey fronted the Burnie Supreme Court here this morning after the rare decision was made by the Director of Public Prosecutions to appeal his case. The 20-year-old was convicted in June of killing 6 penguins at Sulphur Creek on New Year's Day in 2016, but his sentence is what's caused outrage from the public and wildlife services across the state. He was ordered to complete just 49 hours of community service and pay an $82 fine to cover court costs. His charge of aggravated cruelty to animals likely to result in death, deformity or serious disablement carries a maximum 5-year jail term and $31,000 fine. He was also convicted of 1 count of take, buy or sell or possess protected wildlife. The DPP revealed last week it would be appealing the sentence, saying it was manifestly inadequate, a sentiment echoed by wildlife advocates who say fairy penguins should be protected and the sentence won't serve as a deterrent. The hearing is expected to take several hours and will recommence here in September.
Health officials have revealed which strains of meningococcal were contracted by 2 Tasmanians in Hobart this month. Welfare groups are now calling for vaccinations to be made more accessible so everyone can afford protection.
Amid growing calls for information, the government has revealed it was meningococcal types B and W that infected 2 people in Hobart.
We don't believe that any of the cases were linked. That's usually the way it is in Tasmania with cases of meningococcal disease.
It was confirmed a 20-year-old man who contracted the disease in July had B strain, and a 16-year-old girl died with the W strain on July 12.
It was a very distressing time for one family in particular, and I took a decision that it was appropriate not to speak publicly about the strain that had caused their daughter's illness over the weekend.
Eligible babies and teenagers can get the vaccine for types A, C, W and Y for free, but a separate vaccine for type B costs hundreds of dollars. Welfare groups have appealed to the government to change the vaccination policies and make the vaccinations cheaper.
We know it's very distressing for many Tasmanians at the moment who know this could be prevented but don't have the means to be able to afford to prevent their child potentially getting ill.
No Tasmanian should be having to make a decision about how they protect their families based on their financial situation. It is simply not good enough.
We don't make public policy or recommendations based usually on single cases, no matter how sad they may be at times. We look at the longer term picture.
A 3-month-old boy remains in the Royal Hobart Hospital in a stable condition. Health authorities expect to reveal his strain of meningococcal next week. Michelle Wisby, Southern Cross News.
The largest urban renewal project ever undertaken in regional Tasmania is tonight a step closer to fruition. The federal government has committed an additional $10 million to help the Devonport Living City project reach the finish line.
A multi-million-dollar boost for a multi-million-dollar view. This waterfront lot now has the funding to be transformed.
Living City is one of the largest projects ever on the northwest coast and in Tasmania. It's around about $250 million worth of a project, and it will be going over 10 years.
This is stage 1 of the project and it's right on track to be completed in the coming months. Boasting a large events and conference room, food pavilion and multi-storey car park. Stage 2 is the waterfront precinct, which will soon have an amphitheatre, nature-based play space, public art and a 150-room privately funded hotel.
It's wonderful now to be able to see it actually happening and to be able to do the waterfront precinct. Hopefully starting early next year we will be able to complete that picture and bring this precinct up to what we have always dreamed it would be.
The project itself, the $10 million, will fund the waterfront parklands as well as the public infrastructure side of the project itself.
And sitting just across the road from the Spirit of Tasmania, it's hoping to be a significant drawcard for tourists.
Devonport was already very well placed. This is only going to enhance it. This is going to energise Devonport like never before.
Once the project is fully completed, it will bring about an estimated 830 ongoing operational jobs, which will inject $112 million into our local economy.
Jessica Moran, Southern Cross News.
Tasmania Police is currently investigating what started a deliberately lit fire which tore through a Claremont property overnight. Emergency crews responded just after midnight, finding the house filled with smoke. The laundry and upstairs bedroom were damaged, but luckily no one was home at the time. Police are searching for 3 men seen near the property, with one man wearing a baseball cap and another a dark-coloured hooded jumper. Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. A life-changing initiative is promising to provide more freedom to those living with a disability. The program will build hundreds of new houses across the state, each one completed with the needs of those with a disability in mind.
This house is waiting to become a home, offering an invaluable place for those who need it most.
There's about 11,500 people that will be on the NDIS in Tasmania when it's fully rolled out, and at the moment there are about 700 rooms available for people for supported accommodation.
The Supported Affordable Accommodation Trust hopes to build 400 houses, addressing a lacking across the state.
Each house will have either 3 or 4 of these 2-bedroom units, and they'll be around a central staff accommodation area, commercial laundry and a gathering area.
Disability groups and staff worked with the Trust to make the houses as simple and easy to maintain as possible. For families, it's a life-changing outcome.
My eldest is already living in supported accommodation, and the relief and the support that she gets it's phenomenal, really, and our projection is for my son to move into supported accommodation.
Our youngest son is on the NDIS and he's in supported accommodation, and when we went through the process we were told there was a 10-year waiting list.
This concept is something that I've been absolutely hoping for, for 20 years.
The new trust will purchase land and build the houses, then lease them to providers who will choose suitable tenants. This first unit will make its way to Glenorchy, with plans to expand the project across Tasmania. Michelle Wisby, Southern Cross News.
Libraries across the state will no longer be called links. Today, they officially adopted a much simpler name. The government announced earlier this year it would spend $250,000 to change the name to Libraries Tasmania. The decision came after Tasmanians revealed they did not understand the meaning behind the name link.
The new brand, Libraries Tasmania, it says what it is. All the services remain, however, as previous.
So rather than try to spend lots and lots of money on explaining to people that its link was Learning Information Network Centre, we're really happy to be able to say, well, it's a library and here are the things that you can find.
To mark the occasion, Libraries Tasmania launched the new Your Stories campaign to highlight just how many programs it has on offer. One of the biggest solar power investments ever seen in this state has been switched on. The 2,500 panel solar system at SRT Logistics is being hailed as a vote of confidence in renewable energy.
Costing $2.5 million and pumping out 1 million kilowatts of power each year, this is one of the state's biggest commercial solar systems. Installed at SRT Logistics in Devonport and Western Junction, it's expected to halve the company's power bill.
We've still got another site in Hobart that, all going well, we hope to do the same to that site next year.
The company considered going solar 4 years ago, but the sun set on the idea because it wasn't commercially viable. Now, the business behind the installation says new technology is fueling demand.
4 years ago, it was probably double, if not more, the cost than it is today. And that's why, it is viable today for a lot of businesses.
Mr Thompson says Tasmania gets enough sunlight to make large-scale projects like this worthwhile, but helping a company's public image is becoming a much bigger reason why businesses are making the switch.
When we're negotiating with large corporate customers that we have that social responsibility, environmental responsibility, workplace safety, all those things are key.
They are looking for what are your environmental credentials.
The panels are expected to last 25 years. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Spirit connoisseurs can expect to enjoy a tipple at the 3rd annual Tasmanian Whisky Week, set to take off across the state next month. The event celebrates the best we have to offer, with more women getting involved in the booming industry.
Whether you like it shaken or stirred, these dazzling cocktails aren't for the faint-hearted. Made using a concoction of Tassie spirits ahead of next month's Tasmanian Whisky Week.
The industry in Tasmania is now a genuine statewide industry. Tas Whisky Week is having events all over the state, from the north to the east coast and in our area in southern Tasmania.
Tasmanian whisky we're doing so well that we're internationally recognised. We've got access to some of the best ingredients. We've got amazing barley, we've got phenomenal climate, some of the cleanest water in the world. You can't go wrong.
The industry also seeing an increase in female distillers, bartenders and business owners, with the annual week of spirit celebrations displaying their hard work.
Some amazing women in the industry, and the event is to showcase some of those. So we've got myself from Kalara Distillery, Lisa from Old Kempton, Susie from Spring Bay, and the ladies from Knockloffy Distillery. We'll all be presenting some different spirits in cocktails.
I have a daughter myself, and I want her to grow up in a world where anything is open to them. It shouldn't be a male-dominated industry or a female-dominated industry, and there's absolutely no reason why distilling can't lead that charge.
I can't be more proud, and I'm just so pleased that there's more women getting involved, because it's great for the mix.
Tasmanian Whisky Week begins on August 13th. Ruby Kamain, Southern Cross News.
A simple introduction can be all it takes for patients to feel more comfortable with their doctor, according to a campaign launched today at the Royal Hobart Hospital. Hello, my name is encourages hospital staff to be on a first-name basis with patients.
And certainly the majority of us do this on a regular basis. It's just a promotion to make that process of healthcare delivery that little more personalised, one introduction at a time.
The campaign has been running since 2013. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has snapped its 3-day winning streak to close lower amid global trade war concerns after US President Donald Trump threatened more tariffs on Chinese imports. The ASX 200 index fell 58.3 points. Short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 74.2 US cents and 108.98 New Zealand cents.
To the TSL, and North Launceston defender Jay Foon is at risk of missing the finals after a head knock saw him stretchered from the field against Glenorchy. But the way umpires handled the incident is drawing criticism from coach Taylor Whitford. It's an ugly injury which football bodies are trying to stamp out. Jay Foon suffered a neck fracture from this tackle and will spend the next 3 weeks in a neck brace. But it's what happened in the aftermath which is drawing the ire of the Northern Bombers coach.
The way the umpires went about it, I was quite disappointed in the fact that we couldn't even talk to them, it felt like, about the process and things like that.
Adam Roberts was referred for rough conduct and will face the tribunal tomorrow night. But Whitford holds no grudges against Roberts and even received a courtesy call from Pies coach Paul Kennedy.
Injuries like that, it's not about football, it's more about life and is he going to be okay for work and things like that.
North Launceston hosts second place Clarence this weekend, while a shift to the backline has given Launceston's Rulla Kelly Mansell a new lease on the game.
Because obviously when you play forward, you've got the game behind you. When you play back, you've got the whole game in front of you. So that helps that I can actually drive and run and bounce and try and create.
He's taken to it like a duck to water, earning best on ground honours 2 weeks in a row.
If I stuff up or make mistakes, I couldn't care. I'm going to keep trying it. So it helps us as a team. I really, really enjoy it, yeah.
And the votes are in for the RACT Insurance Player of the Year in the TSL after round 17. Rulla Kelly Mansell takes best on ground for Launceston in its win over Lauderdale at Windsor Park. Brady Jones was the standout for Clarence in its win over North Hobart. And 6 goals to Brad Cox-Goodger earned him 3 votes for North Launceston in its victory over Glenorchy. To the leaderboard, and the Magpies' Daniel Joseph is out in front on 15 votes. Taylor Whitford is on 13, while Clarence pair Ryan Bailey and Jake Cox are on 10. Launceston Tornado star Lauren Nicholson has been named the Seabulls' most valuable player. In a standout season, Nicholson has averaged 25 points and 9 rebounds per game. It's the 25-year-old's second season for the Tawns. Meanwhile, Trey Nichols and Craig Moller of the Hobart Chargers were among 5 players named in the All-Seabull first team at last night's awards in Melbourne. South Hobart's 2-1 win over Hobart Zebras yesterday is being described as one of the biggest victories of Ken Morton's career. The South Hobart coach says it ranks among the fairy tale games he's been a part of, as his side kept its finals hopes alive by downing the top 3 team. But Morton still thinks his strikers could have piled on more goals in the first half.
The midfield, Jack Turner, Loic Farrell and Kobe Kempin there were awesome, and they were giving good service to a very lively front 3, so it was a good day for us.
South sits 4th on the table after 14 rounds, behind Devonport, Launceston City and the Zebras. Mechanical issues have held back Hobart's Alex Peroni in race 2 of the Formula Renault in Austria. Peroni started in fine form and moved into the top 5 early on in the race.
Peroni is really rapid though, isn't he? You get the sense if he could get past for sure, he's going to quickly catch the next group of cars.
He eventually slipped back to 7th after fending off a tight field behind him. Meanwhile, Kate Eckhart has placed 11th in the canoe slalom at the Under-23 World Championship. She missed out on the top 10 by 1/10 of a second. Fellow Tasmanian Daniel Watkins also missed the cut. Their next competitions are in September.
Good evening. Flinders Island and St Helens out top today with 14 degrees, Hobart 12 and the Northern Centres 13. Ross and Melton Mowbray had our low of -1, Low Head, Friendly Beaches and Strawn 13 degrees, King Island, Grove and Ooze 12, Lyawini a top of 3. Mid to high level patchy cloud over the state today, mainly dry over the northeast with a few isolated showers elsewhere. Now our cloud cover was part of a large unorganised band of cloud over southeast Australia, mid to low level cloud along western and southern WA, a little more off the Queensland coast as well. Now tomorrow the cold front makes its presence felt over our region and Victoria, a ridge of high pressure and several troughs over the remainder of the country. Northerly winds reaching 35 knots over the north and west, tending northwesterly before increasing to 30 to 40 knots, and that'll be ahead of another change to the west later in the day. Swells to 5.5 metres. A severe weather warning current for the north and west coasts, a gale warning for all coastal waters apart from the lower east coast where a strong wind warning has been issued, a small craft wind alert for the lakes, minor flood warning for the River Ouse in the Derwent catchment, along with the Meander, North Esk and Mersey, a flood watch for other Derwent catchments and rivers in the north and northwest, a road weather alert for northern Tasmania as well, and a warning to sheep graziers for many districts. So for Tuesday, rain periods and wind. Hobart 15, 13 for Adventure Bay, 9 the top for Tarraleah. Same sort of forecast everywhere tomorrow. Rain, possible heavy falls for Launceston 14, 13 for Devonport and Bridport. Burnie expecting much of the same, possible heavy falls as well and 13 degrees, 13 for Strawn, Marrawar 13. And in the east, St Helens, a windy day, bit of rain too, 15 the top, same for Swansea, Whitemark 14 degrees. On Wednesday, showers contracting to the west, south and Bass Strait Islands, those showers extending to the north on Thursday and will spread statewide during Friday, although little over the east coast. Further north in Perth, Adelaide and Melbourne all expecting showers tomorrow. A frosty start to a sunny day in Canberra. Fine and mostly sunny for Sydney and Brisbane. Hobart, showery at the moment, 11 degrees, cloudy in Launceston 10 and Devonport currently cloudy and 11. The wind's going to pick up tomorrow, Joe. I know you're very keen on your locks, but it's going to be a very bad hair day. Won't matter me, mine's as messy as it can get anyway.
It is. You need a trim, actually. It's a bit woofy. Thank you very much, Murph. That's all from the team for now. Thanks for your company. See you a bit later.